Kirsten Arnold. Nice to meet you. Kirsten. Thank you.
Nice to meet you. Michael, nice to meet you. Michael, nice to meet you. Good afternoon. My name is Michael Burden, and today with me I have Kristen Arnold, Bryce Edwards, and Sean Connery. And we are consultores electricianes, or electrical consultants. Dear Mr. Gone, your RFP requires that the winning case team present a plan that turns the Nissan-Renault Alliance's authority on zero-emissions vehicles to a massive market advantage, massive brand strength, and change the way business is done in the automotive industry as a whole. Now for a little background information. The Nissan-Renault Alliance is in the third year of a 6-year plan to increase their market share from 5.6 to 8%. This represents a 43% increase in vehicles sold. The plan hinges upon cross-shareholding. The Alliance has already been able to create synergies through this in the reduction of the cost of production by consulting parts manufacturers on both behalf of Nissan and Renault, moving production closer to end markets, and using common parts platforms with Nissan and Renault vehicles. However, the jury is still out on zero-emissions vehicles in the eyes of the consumer because in 2010, they accounted for less than 1% of all vehicles sold. Potential concerns of consumers when looking towards a zero-emissions vehicle are range anxiety, lack of charge infrastructure, the time it takes for the vehicle to charge, and the high cost of the lithium-ion battery used to power the vehicle. However, at the other end of the spectrum, pushing consumers towards zero-emissions vehicles, we have high and unpredictable fuel prices, tenuous relations between OPEC and oil-addicted industrialized nations, climate change, and poor air quality exacerbated by the burning of fossil fuels. The Nissan-Renault Alliance is betting big on zero-emissions vehicles. With a $5 billion investment, has turned the mid-sized Nissan Leaf into the world's most popular, best-selling zero-emissions vehicle. However, the 30,000 zero-emissions vehicle sales target for 2011 accounted for less than 0.4% of all vehicles sold by the Alliance, which is 8 million. 2012 sales were a bit flat compared to 2011. It would appear the machine is stalled. Here at our company, our plan is meant to complement your existing 6-year plan without adding any large unbudgeted costs. It will consist of an industry analysis, a competitive analysis, marketing analysis, recommendations, a recap, and a financial analysis. Now, ladies and gentlemen, Pierce Edwards.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Pierce Edwards, and I'll be doing an industry analysis as well as the SWOT portion of the competitive analysis for the zero-emission vehicles. Rivalry is high. There's over 130 different zero-emission vehicles on the market. Threat of substitutes is high because there's several different modes of transportation. Threat of new entrants is low. It's very low because it costs billions of dollars to enter into the car business. Supply bargaining power is low because car companies can demand the prices from suppliers because of the amount of units that they buy. Customer bargaining power is high because nobody pays sticker price on cars anymore. There are a lot of strengths for the Nissan Leaf. One is that it's the #1 selling zero-emission vehicle in the world. It boasts a 23% increase in range due to its last model. Internal combustion engines as well as zero-emission vehicles are already being tooled in the same lines, and the joint venture with the NEC ensures that you want to get a steady supply of lithium-ion batteries. Weaknesses: those same lithium-ion batteries cost $10,000 per car, and it jumps to $15,000 for an SUV. Opportunities: the government gives away lots of money for these cars. The United States is the biggest alone, giving away $7,500 after purchasing one of these vehicles. In California, because of the pollution, it increases to $2,500. And in Norway, if you have a zero-emission vehicle, you can drive through tolls for free. Threats. There's very high consumer range anxiety for electric vehicles. There's also very low infrastructure. And competitor with the Nissan Leaf is the Chevy Volt. Chevy Volt is the #1 plug-in hybrid vehicle, and plug-in hybrid vehicles go 450 plus miles on a single charge, dwarfing any ability of any other zero-emission vehicle. Bryce?
Good afternoon. My name is Bryce Davis, and today I will be presenting the PEST analysis portion of the competitive analysis. PEST is an acronym for political, economic, sociocultural, and technological. I will begin with the political portion. Government emission standards regulates our and many other countries' air qualities. The United States offers a $7,500 subsidy for zero-emission and plug-in hybrid emission vehicles. California offers an additional $2,500 for those cars. Many other countries subsidize foreign cars like Japan and Europe. If you live in Norway, your toll is free if you drive a zero-emission or plug-in hybrid emission vehicle. Unfortunately, China does not subsidize foreign cars. For the economic aspect, we found that the average car costs $31,000 and the average car is 11 plus years old, meaning that the consumer is right to buy, yet they teeter with their decision due to high unemployment rates and job insecurity. We also found that gas prices are high. Gas prices being high are due to OPEC and speculators that control oil prices. The relationships between the countries that sell oil and the countries that buy oil are strained at best. Therefore, if we reduce the dependence on the countries that sell oil, we reduce tension. For the socio-cultural aspect, we found that global warming is caused by harmful CO2 emissions, and global warming affects many things. Global warming affects the sea levels and sea temperatures with the polar ice caps melting. It also affects the ozone layer, which protects us from the harmful UV rays that cause cancer. There is also a rise in asthma in young children due to the effect of smog in the air. Customers appreciate that the Leaf is a zero-emissions vehicle and it does not contribute to the growing problem of global warming. And finally, for the technological aspect, we found that the 2011 Leaf battery charge time was 8 hours, and today that battery charge time has been cut down to 4 hours. In a few years, the technology has advanced, and in a few more years, the technology will advance to where the 2010 to 2012 Leaf batteries will be obsolete, and a new battery with a greater range and a shorter charge time will be out. Kirsten?
Hello, my name is Kirsten Arnold, and today I'll be presenting the market analysis. We've analyzed the competition in comparison to the target market and have concluded that those who'd be most interested in the Leaf can be segmented as highly educated, early adopters of technology, and those who live in areas of high pollution. Now, the Renault-Nissan alliance treats zero-emission vehicles as if they are a class of their own, but the target segment tells us that all fuel-efficient vehicles are lumped into the same class. Now that's over 130 different vehicles. But we narrowed it down so that we know the true competitors of the Leaf. Cars like the Tesla Model S are too expensive, coming to $60,000 over the price of a Leaf, while other cars are too small, holding only 2 passengers or only having enough trunk space to hold 2 grocery bags. Now that you'll notice from the fuel-efficient hatchback exhibit, the true competitors of the Leaf are Ford Focus Electric, Toyota Prius, Chevy Volt, and the Mitsubishi offering IMI-EV. You will notice that all of these cars are similar in price, structure, and the number of passenger and cargo they can hold. The main difference is the distance each car can go. The Toyota Prius and the Chevy Volt are both plug-in hybrids. They can go roughly 350 to 450 miles because not only do they have an electric motor, but they also have a tank for gas. Thus, they have gotten rid of the concerns consumers have of range anxiety and lack of infrastructure. If the Leaf wants to effectively compete with these plug-in hybrids, it must also get rid of the issues consumers have of range anxiety and lack of infrastructure. Now, once that is complete, you have to know where to sell. So the next exhibit is a chart displaying the top 10 national markets for 2012 for the purchase of cars, light trucks, and sports utility vehicles. China and the US are number 1 and 2, coming to 47% of the entire market, with Japan as 3rd and Brazil as 4th. China is not only number 1, but it also has the worst air quality in the world. But unfortunately, it will not subsidize the purchase of fuel-efficient vehicles if it's from a foreign country. Now, as regards to the United States, you will notice a population density map. It shows you that Central and Southern California, Northern Mid-Atlantic, and New England states all have the highest population density and therefore have the worst air quality. These should be the areas of focus, especially since California offers an extra subsidy for the purchase of fuel-efficient vehicles. Now we'll move on to recommendations. Our first recommendation would be to retool the plant, a capable Nissan zero-emission vehicle plant in Resende, Brazil. Our reasons for doing this is because the Alliance has already expressed a goal in moving production closer to end markets. Also, currently the closest production line is in Smyrna, Tennessee. Brazil is the perfect place because not only does it have over 190 million citizens, it also was the fastest growing market for 3 years straight, 2010, 2011, and in 2012. It has high electrification and a reliable electric grid. Also, you, Mr. Ghosn, were born in Rio de Janeiro and understand the Brazilian customer. Our second recommendation would be to purchase the assets from the bankrupt company Better Place. Better Place spent over $85 million on state-of-the-art battery switching technology. And now, since they declared bankruptcy in May of this year, their assets are available for cents on the dollar. Our third recommendation would be to re-engineer the Leaf so that it's compatible with the Renault Fluence. The Fluence is already compatible with the battery switching technology of Better Place in Israel and Norway. And also, the increase in synergies would lower the development and production costs in line with the 6-year plan. Now, you will notice a video demonstrating this battery switching technology.
The electric car is the future of transportation in a world free from dependence on oil. Better Place took that concept further and developed the battery switch model, the world's most innovative and convenient way to allow electric car drivers to travel long distances without having to take long breaks to recharge. The battery switch is performed in a network of battery switch stations, which are located at strategic spots, much like traditional gas stations. From the moment you enter the switch station, advanced robots are standing by with a fresh battery. The fully automated system developed by Better Place works simultaneously to switch your depleted battery with a fully charged one. You don't have to exit the car, and you are constantly updated along the process, which takes even less time than it took to fill up your car with gas. Drive, Switch, and Go makes the electric car suitable for everyone. A car that can go anywhere conveniently and affordably.
We got a car that's more convenient. It goes as long as you want. It's not limited by range. It's not limited by time. It's cheap to buy. It actually keeps its value. The side effects, you save the world.
Drive, switch, go. It's as simple as that.
Our next recommendation would be to sell the re-engineered 2015 Leaf without the battery. If you take the 2013 MSRP of $28,800, subtracting the price of the battery of $12,500, it equals $16,300. We also estimate that it will take $2,000 per vehicle to re-engineer the Leafs. So if you take the new price of the car, $16,300, plus the $2,000 per vehicle, plus $9,200 for the battery leasing, also while adding an additional profit of $1,300, you go right back to the original MSRP of $28,800. Next, we recommend that you build up charge infrastructure by lobbying the U.S. federal government to install public charge points in 5% of the southern half of I-5 and the northern half of I-95. Also, to build up infrastructure, we suggest that you approach the global 100 most sustainable corporations to install public charge points in 5% of their parking spaces. Also, to increase awareness, we suggest that you give away free leaves on game shows such as Wheel of Fortune, Family Feud, Let's Make a Deal, and Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, as well as their international versions. Another recommendation is that you put up battery switching stations in areas where cars congregate often, such as airports and train stations. Last but not least, we recommend that you market to taxicab, limousine, and paratransit conventions, utility service companies, security for college campuses and police vehicles, as well as urban transit authorities and supervisor vehicles. Now welcome back Michael Burton.
So, how do we continue the success of the world's #1 mid-size selling zero-emissions vehicles? Well, first, we retool Resende, a plant in the suburb of Rio de Janeiro, Mr. Gone's hometown. Next, we continue to promote the Leaf in the public eye by giving them away as prizes on game shows. After this, we re-engineer the Leaf to have common parts with the Renault Fluence, and by doing this, we bring down costs in production. Once we do this, we re-engineer the 2015 Leaf so it can be leased without a battery. And by doing this, we create a new line of profit for ourselves because we allow the consumer, instead of buying the battery outright, to lease it every 4 years at $9,200 for 4 years. And then once they renew their contract, we give them an updated, higher technological battery. Marketing mix. The 4 Ps that will also contribute to the Nissan Leaf's continued success are product, price, place, and promotion. Product, 2015 Nissan Leaf. The price, $28,800 without the battery. Places we promote, sell these vehicles, United States, Japan, Europe, and Brazil. And the promotion, give them away as prizes on game shows. And next, I'd like to direct your attention to the exhibit above. Here we have a Renault-Nissan Alliance finance chart, and from the numbers above, we've been able to extrapolate a gross profit on average of 19% and a gross operating margin of 2% on average. Next, we have a Nissan Leaf only pro forma. And from here, we start to see the operating margin remain at a constant 2% over the first 2 years. But then in the year 2014, it doubles. This is due to raised awareness on the Leaf, the continual building of infrastructure, and people buying more Leafs because they feel more comfortable with our product. And then after that, we start to see the gross margin remain constant for the next 5 years between 2012 and 2017. And then next, on graphical representation of the exhibit I just presented, we can see that between 2012 and 2017, due to increased infrastructure, raised awareness about the Leaf, leasing the battery to the consumer instead of buying it outright, over the next 5 years, revenue shoots up between 2012 and 2017, 1,900%. Not 100% 200 years, not 300% in 4 years, but 1,900% in 5 years. You wanted this to be big, Mr. Gone. You wanted a large market share. You wanted to get from 5.6 to 8% over 6 years. Well, here it is. Path to the future. How do we continue this? Well, purchase the assets of a better place. By purchasing the assets of a better place, battery swapping stations, purchasing intellectual property and personnel who know how to maintain and build these swapping stations. Then by doing this, we build them at regular intervals upon highly traveled roads, and by doing this, we make range anxiety a thing of the past and make the consumer more comfortable with our products. Next, we re-engineer the Nissan Leaf to have common parts platform with the Renault Fluence. By doing this, we bring down costs in production because we have 2 types of cars that use mainly the same parts. After this, we continue to promote the Nissan Leaf on game shows applicable to the countries with which we are marketing our products in. After that, we take the Nissan Leaf, market it to paratransit and taxi organizations in Brazil during the 2016 Olympics. And what we do is we sell these vehicles to the taxi companies, and then they ferry people back and forth in between the Olympics. And then we wrap the cars with a special vinyl. It doesn't have to be any large message. It can just be something as simple as this is a zero emissions vehicle. And we not only put this message in Portuguese, but we put this in Chinese, we put this in Japanese, we put this in Spanish. And we do this because the Olympics is an international stage. It's where you have people from all around the world coming to see those from their home country compete in international games. And by doing this, we can appeal to a broad audience while not even having to travel far. And then by doing this, people become attached to the Leafs. They want to ride in them to and from the games. They want to go around town, and then they get comfortable with the ride. They get comfortable with the way the car looks. They like the way it feels. They go back home. They want to purchase one. That's what we want people to do. We will not stop until every man, woman, and child is driving a Nissan Leaf. Thank you for your time, judges, audience. You've been wonderful. Now me and my associate entertain any questions you may have.
I want to go back to the slide. You want to go back to the slide? That wasn't working too good, so I'm going to stay on this side, just in case. Move down.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good job. You'll have now 10 minutes for questions and answers, and I would like to present our judges. This is Leonard James, Jesse Tyson, I'm sorry, Jesse, and James Smith.
Thank you. Let me also say great job. I really like the memo or the dialogue you had with your client at the beginning and the end, kind of laying out what he asked for and what you presented to him. The one thing that was missing to me, and I may have just missed it, was the projection in terms of the number of cars that were to be produced in this time frame, I think out to 2020.
All right, well, since the Leaf's been released in December of 2010, between December of 2010 and February of 2012, roughly 50,000 Leafs were sold. So we can say that's 25,000 Leafs per year. So if we keep up this sales volume, and then we add on the increased profit of 1,300%, plus the $9,200 every 4 years, plus increased awareness raised about the Leaf through promotion and game shows and people becoming more comfortable with our products, they in turn buy 25,000 plus Nissan Leafs a year, shooting revenue through the roof.
So it's 25,000 per year out to 2020.
Could you repeat that?
The time horizon for the plan was year 2020, as I understood the case. And I'm trying to get a feel of how many vehicles had to be that were going to be produced up to that point to actually meet the financial projections that you had.
You're saying from 2012 to 2020?
Correct.
Ours went to 2017.
Well, okay, and so what was that number? By 2017, the total number of vehicles produced were?
We keep it at a regular 25,000 per year.
Okay, all right, fine. Thanks. Jim?
Again, nice job.
Thank you.
I really like the Nissan Leaf only pro forma statement because it breaks down this segment of the business, which if your projections flow will end up being 50% of the combined companies, which is kind of interesting. I guess my question is, as you move forward, you kept the profit margins constant, where I would have thought that you would have achieved some economies of scale and perhaps even been able to increase those margins. So I guess the question is why constant? Why aren't there any economies of scales and therefore increasing profit margins?
Could you restate your question, please?
Okay, I'm sorry. I was thinking that as you move forward in the process of building more cars, you would build up some economies of scales and some efficiencies, and I was wondering what went into the fact that the profit margin, operating margin stayed constant rather than declining. Was that due to more promotions or more infrastructure spending?
Oh, so you're asking why didn't after about 2016, why did it just stay at 6.5%?
Correct.
Well, that's because one, our plan was projected entirely from 2012 to 2017, and then from 2012 to 2017 through increased awareness of the Leaf and us keep building infrastructure like charge stations and the Better Place battery swapping stations assets. At around 2014, it goes to 4.5%, and then it'll get to 6.5% at 2017, which is where our projections stop at. So they only go between 2012 and 2017.
Okay, so once you reach your economies of scale in 2015, and then they stay level.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Also, let me congratulate you guys on a great job. I want to focus on 3 charts in your presentation where you go through a competitive analysis, a SWOT analysis, and your pest analysis. You talk, particularly in the SWOT and pest analysis, about high fossil fuel prices. You show that under economics as well as potentially may be viewed as a threat. There's some data out there that tends to say that the U.S. is now producing more petroleum products than it ever has before. Gasoline prices tend to be on a downward slope. Did you factor into any of your analysis the American consumer particularly being more interested in maintaining current types of vehicles driven as opposed to electric vehicles?
We didn't factor that in because our target market is, as you would say, the hipsters, the people that like to get into technology before it, like when it first comes out. The target market is really the people that are interested in the ZEV and are interested in zero emission vehicles and are interested in taking care of our pollution and the global warming and taking care of the problems of global warming. And then maybe later we'll target the other markets that aren't interested, and we'll get them interested through promotions and game shows and commercials and the Olympics.
You also mentioned at some point in your presentation that there was a focus on more of a commercial fleet, and you focused on taxis, police cars. Why those 2 specifically?
Well, we focus on those because if they are interested, they'll be buying many, like 70 cars at once. So it's not like, oh, 1 car, 2 car. No, it's a big, massive. So that's a lot of money coming in from them buying that big, massive cars.
Thanks. You mentioned in your presentation that China was off limits because they don't allow subsidies for foreign-built vehicles. Any thought about cutting a deal with the Chinese government to build a plant in China, or for China to partner with the Chinese government? If it's no, no is fine.
I mean, honestly, well, could you please restate your question again?
Because China is off limits in terms of providing subsidies to non-Chinese production, that you think about maybe building a plant in China or doing a joint venture with the Chinese government to allow that facility to now become a domestically built vehicle?
Honestly, no, not really, because at this point we're sticking with what we know. The reason we chose Japan, Brazil, the United States, and Europe is because if you take China out of the equation, since it's off limits, we're dealing with the 4 largest car markets, and then Brazil itself, for the 3rd year in a row, has stayed the world's largest growing car market with 190 million people and a very substantial electric grid. It'd be the perfect place almost to market and sell our zero emissions vehicles, not to mention it's the hometown of CEO of the Renault-Nissan Alliance, Andrew Gone, and he understands the Brazilian customer.
And by the way, I thought that was a pretty slick move to go to Brazil knowing that he had an emotional attachment to Brazil.
Yeah.
I also like the Olympic tie-in. I thought that's a great spot to showcase the vehicle internationally. One of the things that fascinates me is the whole battery technology, and so your solution to that is to swap them out every 4 years. What is the useful life of the vehicle? Will that last 8 years, 12 years? And how many batteries can you swap into the cars?
Well, the average car is 11 plus years old, so you can expect that the Leaf will last as long as the average car. And when you swap the battery, you get a new battery every year. And I mean, you probably have to do regular tune-ups on your car, get it checked. I don't know about oil change, but you might have to get a tune-up or just get it checked out once in a while. But the battery will be new every 4 years. So
you'll have three swaps per vehicle roughly.
yes.
And then to piggyback on what my partner was saying, with the Better Place battery swapping technology, when you go in to get your battery switched, they get updated every so often with the most updated batteries. So if you lease the battery from the Alliance and then you go into a Better Charge swapping station, if they've received a new battery that has a longer range mileage than the one you're accustomed to, then they take your old battery and then swap that new one in there.
Okay, so you're constantly getting, by going to a Better Charge,
Yes.
new batteries. Interesting. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you all.